What happens when a woman who fought her way out of the Bronx to become one of the most recognizable women in the entire world comes on what's supposed to be a celebratory interview and has her entire life's work questioned? What you are about to witness next is one of the most jaw-dropping moments to ever air on daytime TV. A moment where Jennifer Lopez, after years of meticulously crafted public perception, reaches her absolute breaking point and lets the world see a side to her that so few ever get to witness. The room falls completely silent. The air in the studio becomes thick and heavy, and in that deafening quiet, Joy Behar realizes far too late that she might just have challenged the wrong person. But wait, what was even said to push Jennifer to such a level of outrage? Before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed and don't forget to let us know what you think down in the comments, because this is one of those stories where everyone has an opinion. The bright studio lights cast a warm glow over the stage as Jennifer Lopez strides out to take her seat at the famous table. As always, she's looking absolutely flawless. From her hair to her makeup, everything is meticulously executed, that perfectly polished look that she's been rocking for over 3 decades in the spotlight. As she appears on screen, the audience erupts with thunderous cheers. These aren't just random onlookers. These are her fans, people who have followed her rise from the humble streets of the Bronx to her current position as a global superstar. They've sung along to her songs, critiqued her films, and witnessed the ups and downs of her personal life unfold in the tabloids. To them, she isn't just another celebrity. She's a testament to the idea that dreams truly know no bounds, no matter where you come from. Whoopi Goldberg kicks off the interview with a warm, admiring tone. Our next guest, of course, needs no introduction. She is an icon, an actress, a singer, a dancer, a producer, an entrepreneur, and I'm probably missing some titles. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the one and only Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer beams at the crowd, a familiar, dazzling smile flashing as she waves. Thank you so much. It's so great to be here, and I always loved this show. At first, the interview is going exactly as planned. Sarah Haynes is guiding the conversation, focusing on Jennifer's new documentary. Jennifer's face lights up as she discusses the film, sharing insights into her life, her struggles, and her triumphs with genuine emotion. She speaks candidly about her children, her heritage, and the sacrifices she's made to achieve her dreams. Honestly, making this documentary was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, Jennifer says. Performing on stage and in front of cameras is one thing, but truly letting people see who you are, the parts you've kept so hidden for so many years, that's a different challenge entirely. The audience is hanging on her every word. This is the Jennifer Lopez they love, glamorous, yet grounded, powerful, yet vulnerable. It's a carefully curated image that somehow feels both aspirational and relatable. But then, everything shifts. Joy Behar leans forward, her expression taking on a familiar, sharp edge that longtime viewers have come to know. So Jennifer, Joy begins, you talk so much about being authentic and real in the documentary. But looking back on your career, for 30 years, you've been all about image management. How much of what we see is actually you, and how much of it is really just polished public relations? The question hits Jennifer like a ton of bricks. The other hosts exchange uneasy glances, and the audience falls into a hushed silence, sensing the sudden shift in energy. Jennifer's smile tightens, and she pauses, her eyes narrowing ever so slightly. I'm not sure I quite understand what you're asking, she replies, her voice calm but now tinged with a palpable caution. Everything in the documentary is real. These are real moments, real struggles, and real achievements. But Joy doesn't back down. If anything, she presses on even harder. And that's exactly my point. Joy exclaims, leaning in even further. You've been in this industry for 30 years. You've had entire teams dedicated to how the public perceives you. So when you present something as authentic, isn't that just another layer of control? The tension in the studio is electric. This isn't just a question, it's an attack that strikes at the heart of why Jennifer is there. In the audience, people fidget in their seats, while Sunny Hostin looks ready to intervene. Jennifer remains outwardly composed, but the fire is building in her eyes. There's a difference between being strategic and being fake, she retorts, her voice steady. Yes, I have a team. Yes, I'm mindful of how I present myself. But that doesn't make me any less real. It means I've learned how to survive in an industry that can be incredibly unforgiving. Survive? Joy lets out a short, sharp laugh that holds no warmth, and in that instant, you can feel it. The interview has officially ceased being an interview. It has become something else entirely. And what happens next, no one in that room saw coming. Is that what we're calling it now? Joy says, her voice dripping with sarcasm and a biting edge. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks more like manipulation. You've spent years building an empire on the premise that you're still Jenny from the block, all while living a life that most people can't even imagine. The barb, a direct reference to one of Jennifer's most iconic songs, was deliberate. It was meant to wound, and it clearly did. Jennifer's jaw clenches, a barely perceptible tremor that's noticed by anyone paying close attention. The audience is completely silent, leaning forward, waiting. That song, Jennifer replies, her voice dropping to a lower, more controlled tone, was never about pretending. It was about remembering where you come from and staying grounded no matter how far you go. She pauses, her eyes fixed on Joy. I'm sorry if that's difficult for you to grasp, but that has been the foundation of everything I've built. Joy, however, leans back, a smug, almost calculating smirk on her face. Oh, I understand it perfectly, she says dismissively. I just don't know if you actually live it. She leans forward again, her gaze unwavering. When was the last time you actually took the subway, Jennifer? Or stood in line at the grocery store? When was the last time you did anything that regular people do every single day? The mask is off. This isn't curiosity, it's an outright attack. And for the first time in a long time, Jennifer Lopez, the disciplined, composed icon, is being pushed to a place she hasn't been in years. She takes a slow, deliberate breath, seemingly grounding herself before responding. Joy, she begins, her voice firm but measured. I grew up in a tiny apartment in the Bronx, sharing a bedroom with my two sisters. My mother worked multiple jobs just to keep us fed. Her voice carries an immense weight now, a deep well of experience. I didn't have private lessons. I didn't have coaches. I learned everything I know by watching music videos and practicing alone in my room. A beat passes. Everything I have, I've earned. The audience is frozen, hanging on every word. So please, Jennifer continues, her gaze unwavering, don't you dare sit there and try to tell me what regular people do. I lived that life for a hell of a lot longer than I've lived this one. The response is powerful, controlled, and undeniably impactful, but Joy is far from finished. That's a great story, Joy says, almost brushing it off with a flick of her hand. And I'm sure it works wonders for your documentary. She pauses, a calculating look in her eyes. But let's talk about something else. Something more current. Your personal life. The topic switch is abrupt and the shift is undeniable. You've been married 4 times. 4. Does that say something about your judgment? Or perhaps your ability to maintain relationships outside of the constant public scrutiny? Gasps erupt from the audience. Alyssa Farrah Griffin's eyes widen in disbelief, and even Whoopi Goldberg, who has seen her share of TV fireworks, looks visibly stunned. This has gone too far. Jennifer's composure, which she's held onto so tightly, finally shows a crack. The warmth in her eyes flickers and is replaced by something colder, sharper. My personal life is not your jurisdiction to judge, Joy, she states, her voice lower, but firm and clear. My marriages, my relationships, they involve real people and real emotions. I'm not going to stand here and let you turn years of my life into a joke. Joy, however, seems completely immune to the escalating tension, or perhaps deliberately ignores it. I'm simply pointing out a pattern, she insists. You fall in love publicly, you marry publicly, you divorce publicly, and then you repeat the whole cycle. When does it stop being about genuine love and start being more about contentment? When does your love life become just another one of your products? The words are brutal, each syllable designed to inflict maximum damage. For a moment, Jennifer Lopez, the icon who has conquered every facet of the entertainment industry and built an empire from scratch, remains absolutely still. Then she speaks. You want to talk about my love life, Joy? Her voice is a whisper, but it fills the entire studio. Fine, let's talk about it. The audience leans in, riveted. Let's talk about what it's like to search for something real while millions of people dissect your every romantic move. Let's talk about falling in love, knowing that if it doesn't work out, people like you will turn it into tabloid fodder. Let's talk about having your heart broken, publicly, time and time again, and still having the strength and the faith to try again because you believe in love. That's not contentment, Joy. That's being human. The silence that follows is deafening, unavoidable. But I wouldn't expect you to understand that. The impact is immediate. A flicker of surprise, perhaps even hurt, crosses Joy's face. She quickly tries to regain her composure. I'm asking what everyone else is thinking, Joy snaps back. Someone has to cut through the image and get to the truth. The truth? Jennifer lets out a short, bitter laugh. No, Joy, you don't want the truth. You want controversy. You want headlines. You want a moment that's going to trend for 24 hours. That's not journalism. Another beat. That's exploitation. The word hangs in the air, a definitive judgment. And just like that, everything has changed. But before Joy can even form a response, Jennifer continues, her voice growing stronger, sharper, with each passing word. Do you know what the truth really is? She asks, a pregnant pause hanging in the air. The truth is that I've been working since I was 18 years old. The truth is that I've heard no more times than you can even imagine. I've been told I'm too old, too ethnic, too ambitious, too much, and every single time, I've proved them wrong. That's the truth. But it doesn't quite fit your narrative, does it? Joy straights up, attempting to regain control. I'm simply pointing out that there's a disconnect between the image you project and the reality of your life. That's a fair observation. A fair observation? Jennifer repeats the words slowly before rising from her chair. Her presence now fills the studio, commanding, undeniable. Let me tell you what a fair observation looks like, Joy. A fair observation is that I've sold over 80 million records worldwide. A fair observation is that I've starred in films that have made billions. A fair observation is that I've built businesses that employ hundreds of people. Those are facts. She steps closer, her gaze locked onto Joy's. What you're doing? That's not an observation. That's tearing someone down under the guise of asking a question. The tension in the studio is palpable. Palpable. No one is moving. No one is speaking. This is not the perfectly polished, perfectly measured Jennifer Lopez the world is accustomed to. This is something raw, unfiltered, and absolutely captivating. Joy tries one last time. I think you're being overly sensitive, she says. These are legitimate questions about public figures and authenticity. Legitimate questions? Jennifer's voice rises, strong and resonant, echoing through the studio. Let me ask you some legitimate questions, Joy. What have you built? What have you created? What have you contributed other than sitting at this table and tearing people down? The words land like a thunderclap. Jennifer doesn't pause. I came from nothing, with only a dream and a work ethic that would break most people. I've been a dancer, a singer, an actress, a producer, a businesswoman. I have failed in front of the entire world and picked myself up. I have been dragged through the mud of headlines and kept going. I have raised 2 children while simultaneously maintaining a career that would exhaust a person half my age. And I did all of that, while people like you questioned whether I deserved any of it. She takes a deep breath before raising her hand, stopping Joy mid-sentence. No, she says firmly, you've had your turn. You've questioned my authenticity. You've questioned my relationships. You've questioned my entire life's work. Now you're going to listen. Do you know what I really think this is about, Joy? She asks, a beat of silence passing. I think it bothers you that I don't apologize for my success. I think it bothers you that a Latina girl from the Bronx built something that you can't ignore. And instead of being inspired, you feel threatened. So you try to tear it down, because that's easier than asking yourself why it makes you uncomfortable. The words hit home, and color floods Joy's face as she struggles to respond. That's ridiculous, she exclaims. I'm not threatened, I'm asking tough questions. Tough questions? Jennifer lets out a short, humorless laugh. No, a tough question would be asking me what it's like to be a woman of color in an industry that still doesn't quite know how to handle us. A tough question would be asking about the risks I've taken when everyone told me I'd never succeed. A tough question would be asking how I've remained relevant for 3 decades in an industry that seems to discard women the moment they hit 30. Her voice softens, but its weight intensifies. But you didn't ask any of that. You asked about my marriages. You questioned whether my love is real. You suggested my entire career is built on manipulation. Those aren't tough questions, Joy. Those are cheap shots. Even the co-hosts sit in stunned silence. Whoopi attempts to intervene. Maybe we should take a break and just redirect. But Jennifer isn't finished. Respectfully, I think people need to hear this, she says, turning back toward the panel. Her voice lowers, becoming quieter, yet somehow even more powerful. You sit at this table every day with a platform that reaches millions. You have the power to uplift people. You have the power to have conversations that truly matter. And what do you do with it? A beat passes. You tear down women who have spent their entire lives building something. You question their love, their success, their authenticity. That's not journalism, Joy. Another pause hangs in the air. It feels like the end of an era. That's not entertainment, Jennifer says, her voice steady but unyielding. That's cruelty, with a microphone, and I refuse to stand here and pretend that your questions are worthy of any validation. Then, silence. Not the typical polite pause in a TV segment. This is absolute silence. Joy sits frozen, her earlier confidence shattered. The other hosts avert their gazes, pretending to scrutinize their notes. The audience remains motionless, hanging on every breath. And then Jennifer moves. Calmly, deliberately, she gathers her things with the quiet certainty of a woman who has already made her decision. But before she walks away, she pauses, turning toward the camera. This time, she isn't speaking to Joy or the panel. She is speaking to millions watching at home. To anyone watching this, Jennifer begins, her voice softer but imbued with an undeniable strength. Who has ever been made to feel like your success isn't real, like your love doesn't count, like you have to apologize for what you've achieved. Listen carefully. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't have to justify your journey to people who have never walked your path. Keep building, keep loving, keep being exactly who you are. The room remains completely still, captivated. Because at the end of the day, Jennifer continues, the people who tear others down usually do it because they have nothing of their own to build. Slowly, she turns back to Joy. Her expression is unreadable. I hope one day you find whatever it is you're looking for by making others feel small, she says quietly. But I don't think you will. Because people who build their lives on tearing others down usually end up alone, with nothing but their own bitterness. And with that, she turns and walks away, head held high, unshaken. Her heels click rhythmically against the studio floor, each step like a perfectly delivered punch. The audience is silent. No one claps. They simply watch, stunned as the cameras continue to roll, capturing Joy Behar still seated at the table, looking considerably smaller than when the interview began. What started as a simple interview has become something so much more. A confrontation, a statement, a moment that will undoubtedly be replayed for years to come. And perhaps the most important question of all is this: what happens when someone who has spent a lifetime being underestimated finally decides they've had enough? In that studio, on that day, everyone got their answer. The girl from the Bronx stood her ground once again. And this time, there was no question about it. She walked away victorious. So what do you think? Was Joy out of line, or was she just doing her job? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, because stories like this don't just make headlines, they leave you speechless.